The digital library I've chosen to present on is the Love Canal Collections website created by the University at Buffalo Special Collections Library. For those of you who aren't familiar with Love Canal, it was the site of one of the most notorious environmental pollution disasters in U.S. history. Originally, the Love Canal neighborhood was designed in the late 1800s to be a model industrial community. Work on the canal began to reroute waters from the Niagara River, however, it was never finished. Hooker Chemical bought the land and used the canal to dispose of chemical waste from the 1940s into the early 1950s. In 1955, the land was sold to the Niagara Falls School Board, and a school was built and hundreds of families moved into the area. In the years 1975 and 1976, there were a series of unusually heavy rain and snowfalls that occurred. This caused the water table to rise and toxic waste streams surface in contaminated area ponds and surface water. Eventually, toxic waste became visible to the inhabitants of the Love Canal neighborhood. Numerous health problems were being attributed to the contamination from the Love Canal dump site. However, local and state governments were slow to act. As a result, neighborhood groups and individuals became highly involved in activism regarding the health issues that were occurring within the Love Canal neighborhoods. So now I'm going to navigate to the Love Canal Digital Library. The easiest way to get there is to just search for it using Google. You can navigate to it within the UB Library's website, but this is definitely easier. So the Love Canal website, it has not been updated in quite some time. There are some issues with images loading on these landing pages. Here you see there is a brief summary of the Love Canal collections. However, it's really missing a lot of the information regarding the materials that are available within this digital library. Now I'm just going to discuss these different options that are available. We have the catalog search. Now this is actually searching the UB Library catalog. This is not a special catalog search for the Love Canal collections. It can be a little confusing for users. I know I was confused the first time I saw this. As you can see, I'm not going to do a search, but if I click on advanced, it will go to the library catalog advanced search. So this isn't really relevant to the collection. I'm not sure if it really needs to be here. So that might be a suggestion if this website was going to be redesigned to remove this option. Here we have a newspaper database, and it allows for keyword searching. And there's also an advanced search here. And when I click on that, it will bring me to this newspaper database, which I will be discussing later in this presentation. And then we have the Love Canal images. So we have an option to browse the Love Canal photos or to do a keyword search. There's also the advanced button, advanced link is showing here as well. If I click on that, it brings me to the newspaper database. So there's definitely some issues with links in this digital library. Now I'm going to go at the top of the page. You'll see that there's an About area. If I hover over it, it gives me a few different options to go to the background information, chronologies, or glossary. If I click on this, you'll see it gives me the same options in the main page and also in the menu to the left. So there's some repetitive information in here. I'm going to click on background information, and here you'll see a lot of the information that I discussed in my PowerPoint leading up to this part of my presentation. I recommend you give this a read. It's some very interesting information. And then there's also a disclaimer at the bottom of the page, which would be helpful for anybody who lived in the Love Canal area that believes that they have some issues as a result of living in that neighborhood. There's an ongoing Love Canal long-term health study that's available. So now I'm going to go to the next section for chronologies. You'll see that there are some hyperlinks that will bring me down to the section within this web page. And as I scroll down, you'll see that there is a bunch of textual information that has been entered, probably HTML, into this web page. And as I scroll down a little bit further, you'll see that there is also some textual descriptions, but then there's also links that will bring me to PDFs of the actual documents. And as you can see, I can download the file if I so wish. And if I don't want to, then I can just close right out. Let's take a look at the glossary. So here again, you'll see that we have hyperlinks to different sections within this part of the web page. And I'm just going to skip down to legislation. And as you can see, it's a bunch of textual information that has been listed here. All very helpful to know if you are interested in learning about the Love Canal. Now I'm going to go to the collections section. So here in the collections section of the digital library, we're actually going to see which archival collections make up the Love Canal Collections website. As you can see, the first one listed is Ecumenical Task Force of the Niagara Frontier Records. MS65 is the archival collection number. It's a unique number identifier that is given to all archival collections within UB Special Collections. And if I click on this, you'll see it brings me to the finding aid. If you're unfamiliar with finding aids, this gives an overview of the types of materials that are available in the archival collection. Just a point of interest about the Ecumenical Task Force collection, there is a note down here that gives a little bit of information about the grant that was awarded that made the digitization of some of these documents possible. It does say that these images are GIFs. However, as you can see as I scroll down, it does say that these are PDFs. And if I click on one, let's click on a testimony, you'll see that this is an actual PDF document. I can download it. These are not OCR optimized, so I can't highlight or copy and paste any of this information. And if you notice, it did open in a new tab, which is always helpful for these types of documents. The Ecumenical Task Force has a lot of information within it. And as you see, as I scroll down, here are the other archival collection with links to their finding aids. However, none of these collections were digitized, so we don't have links to anything other than the finding aid. And as I scroll a little bit further down, you'll see that there is an entire archival collection on newspaper clippings, a searchable database, which we'll get to next. There's also full text articles, which I'll also be discussing in the next section. And there is also a Love Canal book collection. So I'm going to go back up to the top of the web page. And the next section I'm going to discuss is the newspaper database. And as you can see here, we have a little note at the top about the types of articles that are available. Some of them might be restricted for copyright issues. But first I want to explore this user interface for the newspaper database. So the makeup of this is a little awkward, I guess. There are several search bars, one for author last name, keywords and title, keywords anywhere. This could probably be combined into one, with a drop-down menu allowing for, somebody to pick what kind of keyword or author name they want to choose. There's also a date range area. What's strange about this is that it does not allow for a range of dates. It allows month, day, and year. If I wanted to, I could pick 1 year and search by that. And it does give me all articles within a year. However, for a date range, you'd expect to have the ability to search from one date to up to another date. So it's just kind of like a weird little quirk of this. There's also another filter to limit by type, which, could be helpful if you're looking for something very specific. There's also selection to browse listing by selected newspapers. And as I click in here, you will see that there are many different newspapers to choose from. The items in this database are just citations. They don't allow for full text access to the article. If somebody wanted to get full access to the article, they would have to contact UB Archives, as the note towards the top of the main page said. And if I go into newspaper clippings from the main newspaper database, and now it brings me to where I want to go. Here's a note stating that the permission to digitize these photos was granted by the Niagara Gazette, who was the copyright holder. and was digitized because of a specific grant. And as I scroll down, you'll see that there are links to the specific articles. And as I click on them, you'll see that it is really just a web page that has been populated with a scan image. And if I save this image, you'll see that it's a GIF. So these are a series of GIFs. Any articles that are more than one page long, you actually have to click over to the next page rather than like being able to scroll down the page. So that's another little quirk. And they don't open in new tabs, so you have to make sure to tab back. So now I'm going to look at Love Canal images. And as with the main page, this picture is actually loading. So there's a photograph, there's a brief description of the photographs that are within the collection. And I just want to bring your attention to the top. This is actually hosted within UB's digital collections. So we kind of left the archive collections and now we're in the digital collections. So it's just kind of a weird little nuance for how the Love Canal Collections website has been set up. So here we can search the collection, presumably by keyword. We can also browse by sub-collection. Here are some of the sub-collections that are listed. We can also browse by photographer, but for now I am going to browse the collections. And as you can see, there are 620 items that are located within this collection. You have different options to sort by title, creator, or date added. And these are all JPEG images. And if I click on one, the image will pop up, and if I hover over, you'll see that it is a JPEG. If I click on it again, I can zoom in if I really want to get a close look at that toxic waste. It doesn't open a new tab, so I have to remember to back out of here rather than close the entire program down. And as I scroll down, you'll see that there are a bunch of metadata listed that is associated with this specific photograph or image. It has subjects, which include LC subject headings, in their short form. The name of the collection, although it does not include the associated archival collection number. The publisher is listed, the rights statement. This is always very important for archival collections. They usually have very specific rights that are available for use for such images, and they always provide a citation as well. So just a quick review of the Love Canal Collections website. I hope you found this informative, and thank you for your time.